The United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, also known as the Rio Summit, Rio Conference, and Earth Summit, was a major United Nations conference held in Rio de Janeiro from 3 to June 14, 1992. In 2012, the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development was also held in Rio, and is also commonly called Rio+20 or Rio Earth Summit 2012. It was held from 20 to June 22. Overview: 172 governments participated, with 116 sending their heads of state or government. Some 2,400 representatives of non-governmental organizations attended, with 17,000 people at the parallel NGO Global Forum, who had consultative status. The issues addressed included systematic scrutiny of patterns of production, particularly the production of toxic components, such as lead in gasoline, or poisonous waste including radioactive chemicals, alternative sources of energy to replace the use of fossil fuels which are linked to global climate change, new reliance on public transportation systems in order to reduce vehicle emissions, congestion in cities and the health problems caused by polluted air and smoke, the growing scarcity of water. An important achievement was an agreement on the Climate Change Convention, which in turn led to the Kyoto Protocol. Another agreement was to not carry out any activities on the lands of indigenous peoples that would cause environmental degradation or that would be culturally inappropriate. The Convention on Biological Diversity was opened for signature at the Earth Summit, and made a start towards redefinition of measures that did not inherently encourage destruction of natural ecoregions and so-called uneconomic growth. 12 cities were also honored by the Local Government Honors Award for innovative local environmental programs. These included Sudbury in Canada for its ambitious program to rehabilitate environmental damage from the local mining industry, Austin in the United States for its green building strategy, and Kitakyusha in Japan for incorporating an international education and training component into its municipal pollution control program. Results: the Earth Summit resulted in the following documents: Rio Declaration on Environment and Development, Agenda 21 Forest Principles. Moreover, important legally binding agreements were opened for signature: Convention on Biological Diversity, Framework Convention on Climate Change, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. Critics, however, point out that many of the agreements made in Rio have not been realized regarding such fundamental issues as fighting poverty and cleaning up the environment. Green Cross International was founded to build upon the work of the summit. See also, Earth Summit 2002 Rio+10 held in Johannesburg, Ecology Summit, Global Map, National Strategy for a Sustainable America, Precautionary Principle, Regional Forum on Environment and Health in Southeast and East Asian Countries, the Environmental Institute, United Nations Conference on the Human Environment 1972, United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development also known as Rio 2012, or Rio+20. Hosted by Brazil in Rio de Janeiro, as a 20-year follow-up to the historic 1992 United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, References. External links, documents from the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, 1992, video, George Hunt reviews UNCED 1992, video. 7 Suzuki, 13 years old, speaks for Environmental Children Organization UNCED 1992, address at Rio Earth Summit, Tenzin Gyatso Dalai Lama, Agenda 21 at the Center for a World in Balance, a critical new internationalist keynote about the 1992 Rio Earth Summit, Rio Summit News, Reports, Documents, Opinions. Rio+20 on India Environment Portal.